President Muhammadu Buhari today sacks 2 ministers, makes slight reshuffle in the federal cabinet. He says he's not yet done, more to come. And Governor of Zamfara said Bello Matawali shuts all schools after bandits struck again. Imposes curfew movement restriction in 13 local government areas of the state. Hello everyone and welcome to the program. This is Politics Today live on Channels Television. I'm Sean Kimbale at our studio here in nation's capital, Abuja. Sadly, bandits have struck again in Zamfara State, this time abducting a yet-to-be-ascertained number of students following an attack on Kayode Secondary School in Zamfara State. The incident occurred at about 11 a.m. today in Maradun local government area of the state. And a source within the government confirmed this to China's television and the abduction of the student too. But police authorities in Zamfara State have yet to confirm the incident. Meanwhile, the Governor Bello Matawali, has imposed curfew in 13 local government areas. He has ordered restrictions of movement and shut all schools. Let's now check out some of your political roundup stories.
The federal government says it will make provision for subsidy in 2022. That's according to the Group Managing Director of the Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation, Mr. Mele Kyari. He says conversations with relevant stakeholders are ongoing to exit the subsidy regime, but the process may not be concluded anytime soon, hence the need to reintroduce subsidy in the 2022 budget. He stated this during a public hearing organized by the Senate Committee on Finance on the Medium-Term Expenditure Framework and the Fiscal Strategy Paper.
There is a provision for subsidy in the year 2022. The reason is that we are not sure we can conclude this process before the end of this year or even early in 2022. That is why that provision is made. The Petroleum Industry Act has made provision for an ultimate exit from this subsidy environment, but that decision has not been made, and there's going to be an implementation process under the PIA, which the National Assembly graciously passed as a bill of the National Assembly. So we're working on it.
6 members of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, APGA, in the House of Assembly in Anambra State have dumped the ruling party for the All Progressives Congress, the APC. The lawmakers were received into the APC fold in Abuja by the chairman of the APC Caretaker Committee, Governor Maimala Buni, the governor of Imo State, Hope Uzodimma, and the APC candidate in the Anambra governorship race, Senator Andy Uba. The APC national chairman says the defection is an indication of the grassroots to join the APC quest in winning the Anambra State governorship election. The People's Democratic Party in Anambra State has flagged off the electronic membership and continuous voter registration exercise. 3 governors, including Godwin Obaseki of Edo State, Seyi Makinde of Oyo State, and Governor Okezie Ikpeazu of Abia State, joined in the flag-off event ahead of the November 6 governorship poll in the state. The leaders of the party are confident that the party will be victorious in the election, as the candidate, Mr. Valentine Ojigbo, and his deputy are very credible.
Let me just say, Your Excellencies, your presence here has helped us achieve a number of incredible objectives. It's helped us to help boost our unification efforts, to make sure we are going to this election as one family. It's helped us to send a strong statement that we're here to win this election and nothing more.
Mr. Obiora Okonkwo has been presented as the candidate of the Zenith Labour Party for the Anambra governorship election. He was unveiled at the national headquarters of the Zenith Labour Party in Abuja, where the party chairman, Dan Iwanyanwu, called for a debate amongst the top 5 parties in the state to enable the candidates discuss their agenda for the state.
Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. Those are some of your political roundup stories. So let's tell you now that President Muhammadu Buhari has sacked 2 of his ministers. They are the ministers of Agriculture and Rural Development, Muhammad Nanono, and his power counterpart, Saleh Maman. The special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Femi Adesina, announced this earlier today after the FEC meeting, the Federal Executive Council meeting that is. It disclosed that the Minister of Environment, Muhammad Abubakar, has been redeployed to the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, while the Ministry of State for Works, Abubakar Aliyu, is to take over as Minister of Power. The exercise, according to Mr. Adesina, will continue in accordance with the provisions of the Constitution. Take a listen to him.
As this administration approaches its critical phase in the second term, I have found it essential to reinvigorate this cabinet in a manner that will deepen its capacity to consolidate legacy achievements. Accordingly, a few changes marking the beginning of a continuous process have been approved. They are as follows. Ministers leaving the cabinet. 1. Mohammed Sabo Nanono, Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development. And 2, Engineer Saleh Maman, Minister of Power. Redeployment. 1, Dr. Muhammad Mahmoud Abubakar, Minister of Environment, to assume office as the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development. 2, Engineer Abubakar D. Aliyu, Minister of State, Works and Housing, assumes office as the Minister of Power. In due course, substantive nominations will be made to fill the consequential vacancies in accordance with the requirements of the Constitution. Today effectively marks their last participation in the Federal Executive Council deliberations, and I wish them the best in all future endeavors. Finally, I wish to reiterate once more that this process shall be continuous.
So there you have it. It does look like this is not the end that we'll be seeing as far as the action of the president is concerned on the issue of cabinet, the performance of the minister, the expectations of Nigerians. Some of the things that are on the minds of the president and perhaps what he's thinking, maybe he's thinking about what some Nigerians are also thinking, and those are the conversations we'll be having for you tonight. I'm being joined tonight here in the studio by Mr. Dominic Alancha. He's a member of the All Progressives Congress, APC. Thank you so much for coming in tonight.
Thank you for having me.
And virtually is Professor Anthony Kila. He will be joining us in a moment. So let's begin the conversation first and foremost with Mr. Alancha. Did you see this coming?
Well, I will say that we saw it coming. We didn't see it coming because it took most of us by surprise. Given the fact that in his first term, he didn't really reshuffle his cabinet. He didn't ask any of them to leave, to go either on account of poor performance like they have cited in this one. So we did not quite see it coming. It came to us by surprise. But one thing that is a given is the fact that if you've been monitoring the reaction of Nigerians, it's quite a welcome development. Because for us, those that are not performing, Buhari as an individual, as a president, I think he's doing very well. But the cabinet need to be reshuffled. Some of them that are not really performing need to go so that it can rejig, the cabinet with people that can perform. And those that are performing need to be commended. I think that is what he has initiated. initiated. And like the essay rightly said, he said it's an initiation of a process that have just been, it's a process that have just been initiated. So we expect that they will look into the cabinet, assess those that have performed, credibly well, and those that have not performed should give way so that people that can move the country forward in terms of, delivering the good governance, the expectations of Nigerians can come on board.
I know you'll be having conversations with your colleagues in the APC and perhaps get a feeling of what they feel about the performance of the government vis-a-vis the thinking and the yearnings of Nigerians and the responses from the populace. The position you have just voiced out today, is it popular amongst the members and the chieftains of the APC?
Yes, Mr. Sheung, it is a popular position in the APC because when you talk of governance, governance is in sector, and agriculture, power is a sector, you understand? If they were doing well, if you look at the agriculture, let me talk about the agriculture. In its first term, you will agree with me that agriculture was taken to the next level. You understand what I'm saying? But in this time, we saw a bit of a snail kind of a movement. There was nothing going on in that ministry. I mean, he was not really performing. That is just the truth. And we anticipated that long ago he would have, asked him to leave. But you see, I believe that relationship was one of the things that was being considered. But again, you won't bring that on board, at the detriment of Nigerians. And again, the man is old. And that is what we, the younger ones, are saying. Those of them that are old, above 60 in the cabinet, should give way. There are a lot of young people within the APC that have the capacity to move Nigeria forward in any capacity you place them, whether as Minister of Power, as Minister of Agriculture, whatever ministry they are given the capacity to head, they are going to deliver credibly well in terms of delivering the expectations of Nigerians. So it's a popular, position within the APC, especially among the younger generation.
Do you have a feeling as a member of the APC, the ruling party that is, and of course, having this conversation also with your members in the APC, that maybe Nigerians are not happy with your party?
Well, I won't say Nigerians are not happy with my party or with our party.
I'm asking, it's a question. I'm not giving a position.
Yes.
I'm saying, do you have that feeling, or do you feel, do you hear, do you discuss the feelings of Nigerians about your party? Do you think your party is still popular with Nigerians?
Well, that's what I'm saying, that yes, Nigerians are, I won't say that Nigerians are not happy with the party. What I would rather say is that, you see, it's politics, all right? There are some that are happy with the party. There are some that are not happy, but the party is very, very popular as far as Nigerians are concerned. And as far as I'm concerned, we are still very, very popular. But the truth of the matter is, in terms of governance, certain persons within the cabinet and within the government structure really need to give way so that people that can perform. There are a lot of persons within the party that ought to be on board. They drove the campaign. They initiate, certain promises that the APC promised Nigerians. They know how to go about bringing it to reality, but they are not on board. So I think, the president really needs to look at his cabinet, reshuffle it with a view to injecting it with younger generation, with not even younger generation, with people with capacity that can move the nation forward.
But how significant are these two changes?
Well, it's very significant because it gives Nigerians hope that party faithful hopes that, yes, a process has been initiated, a process that will bring about, good governance to the people. And you see, for those that are still in the cabinet, it's an opportunity for them to sit up because, like they stated in the press statement, that is a process that has been initiated. So for those that are not performing, they will need to sit up. For those that are performing, they will need to do more.
So as it is, because the last time the SGF, who was speaking on behalf of the federal government at the time, was saying that, look, there will be a periodic assessment of the work. That was when they were doing the induction for the ministers. that there's going to be a periodic assessment of the ministers, and there's going to be update on report of their performance. I'm not sure if we've seen any of that in about 2 years since the ministers got into office. But going forward, the look and feel of what the cabinet constitutes right now, where the energy is supposed to be, the drivers of the economy, the drivers of the spine of our society, those ministers that are holding those offices will have some pressure under them. So do you think that this sack now will have any effect for anyone to sit up, or it's just going to be the usual game as usual?
I don't think it's going to be the usual game, as usual. It's like I said, it's an opportunity. I face them an opportunity to sit up for those, still in the cabinet. And you see, Mr. Shehu, about periodic review of their performance. If you remember, I think when they were about a year or in this administration, 1 year into this administration, there was a retreat that they went. All the ministers came and present their scorecard. I think that was what the SGF was referring. But we need to see more of that, either quarterly, you understand, or in 6 months. Every six months, there is need to be review of, their performance, so that they will be able to access, what they've been doing. Whether they need to improve on it or not, you understand, it is only such kind of retreat that will avail them the opportunity of bringing, taking stock of this assessment. So I think they are doing that. They did that in the first 1 year of the administration, but we've not seen them doing that. Maybe they have plans of doing that.
Let me put you on the spot. Do you think that this government has performed in the last 2 years of the second term?
Yes. They have performed extremely well. But the truth of the matter is that we have challenges in the area of security. You see, the insecurity is making it look as if the government has not performed. But if you go into other areas, there are facts about the performance in terms of infrastructure, in terms of youth employment, you understand? They have performed credibly well. But the security situation in the nation needs to be really looked into, because the security situation is the reason why it's looking as if this government is not performing at all. And security, for me, holds the keys to everything. When there is insecurity, no matter what you are doing, people will see it. But when there is security, at least people will see the other areas that you are doing well.
So if there is no security, whatever you do, does it hold water? Can people appreciate what you are doing if the security is not guaranteed? Don't forget that your party preached and told Nigerians that if you vote for us, we're bringing a general that will fix security. Do you think that Nigerians are disappointed at the moment?
No, Nigerians are not disappointed. I'm a Nigerian. I'm not disappointed. But I'm aware of the fact that security situation in Nigeria today is an emerging challenge. All right? Emerging challenge in a sense that is assuming a global dimension. It's not like it used to be in 2014. It's not like it used to be in 2013. There has been a remarkable improvement in terms of security. But the truth of the matter is that it has assumed a global dimension, and we really need to sit up and do something based on the dimension it has assumed. So for me, I think the government really needs to sit up and then, look into that security area. For example, Zamfara today have imposed curfew. Look at what is happening in Jos. We are not happy about what is happening in Jos and in Zamfara and other northwest states that there are a lot of insecurity there. But like I said, it's an emerging challenge, and the government really need to sit up. But that is not to say that we have not performed in other sector of the economy.
Like what sector?
I just told you that in terms of employment, in terms of infrastructure, you understand, the government have performed credibly well. Infrastructure it holds the key to the economic prosperity of our country. You understand? building roads, look at the rail sector, even our airport, our port. You understand? These are some of the areas that the president, I mean the government, have really performed extremely well. And you cannot throw away the baby with the bathwater. You understand what I'm saying? So the fact that security, you know, is deteriorating in some states does not mean that Nigeria as a whole is not secure. But in some areas, there are really lapses that the government really need to look into. And that is the honest truth I see.
We're since being joined by a political analyst, Mr. Jide Ojo. Thank you so much, Mr. Ojo, for joining us tonight.
My pleasure. Good evening.
It's a day that the president sacked 2 of his ministers. He has over 40 of them, almost 50.
Yeah.
I asked Mr. Alanche here earlier if he was surprised that the president did that. Are you surprised, Mr. Ojo, that the president sacked 2 of his ministers?
Very surprised.
Why are you surprised?
Because it's not in his tradition. The president happens to be someone who, when he appoints you, he just allows you to do what is expected of you. So it's not somebody that. How do we call it in civil society? It's not somebody that micromanage whoever he appoints. He gives you latitude to do your work, and we saw that in his first time. I never can recall if he ever sacked anybody except the person who resigned, and that's former finance minister, over issues of fake.
Amina too also went to.
Amina left on her own for a bigger appointment at the United Nations. So it's not in his tradition to sack people, and I really the entire truth has not come out as to why he did that. The agriculture minister and then the minister of power. If something tells me maybe they resigned to pursue political.
No, if they resigned, because the statement did not say they resigned. Resignation and sack, they are 2 different things. They have been relieved of their job. So, but let's look at it. Let's be analytical in this. What is your own assessment of those 2 ministries? Would you say those ministers have lived up to expectation? Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of Power.
But within the last 2 years. If you want to go by that, then there should have been more sack than those 2.
Maybe that's the ones that are obvious to the president.
Yeah, exactly, because if you go, I mean, all of them will have an excuse of COVID-19, affected our performance and all of that. Minister of Agriculture, he was one that raised dust about you can eat with 30 naira, that you can have a distant meal for 30 naira. And I was like, where does this man live if he thinks so? If he actually sacked them, they must have committed very grievous infraction or offense, which, like I said, is an unfolding story. Maybe investigative journalism will unearth why he could have sacked them. I was just looking at, is there a possibility that some of these, one or 2 of them, has ambition to be governor, and they just want to, go and start earnest preparation for their gubernatorial ambition and all of that. But if they were actually sacked, we need to know. I read Dikin Femi Adesina's press statement. It was silent on the rationale.
Yeah, but he said that there is a last part of the statement that says that this is a continuing process. And that if we do more, there's more to be done in line with the Constitution. That means we might be seeing more sack or more general reshuffling of the cabinet. But with the President Buhari that you know, Mr. Ojo, can he do a major shake-up? Because I was discussing with my colleagues earlier that this is not a shake-up, this is just a mere...
This is just
a little change.
Yes, cosmetic solution.
2 out of over 40 is not a shake-up.
2 out of 44.
So for me, I'm looking at it holistically. From your own point of view, do you think the President Buhari that you know, at least in the 6 years that he has been president, do you think he can or he will do a major reshuffling of the cabinet?
It's not impossible. Having set this precedent, You know, like I said, there was no precedent that he will sack people. But now that he has begun, and we have been given an inkling that this is an ongoing process, maybe before the end of the year, we may see a couple of months. But I don't think it will be earth-shaking. I don't think, because the point is, next year is going to be devoted to politics, politics of 2023 and all of that. So governance actually, in fairness, we are going to see less than 1 year of governance. By middle of next year, with party primaries approaching and all of that, there will be a lot of distraction to that. But Nigerians are actually looking for that earth-shaking cabinet reshuffle that will impact positively on not only on the economy but on governance. You agree with me? In fact, I've read a number of responses that says mention names of people that should have also been announced. We are not in control of that. But I met you discussing the issue of security. Nigerians are not satisfied with the current state of security. We clamored. I was one of those who clamored for the change of service chiefs. We have had the change of service chiefs, but people are calling for the sack of National Security Advisor, including Chief of Defense, Minister of Defense, and all of that. So rejig our security architecture. And like I said earlier on, it's not only these two people that are so-called inactive in his government. The few ones, and I'm not by any means saying it's only those who have media hypes should be allowed to stay, because you can do a lot of media branding without, it could be more of talk and less of action. People who knows how to cultivate media can, governance by billboard, governance by telephone, governance by media. They can do that, but when it comes to brass tacks, something happened, Chim, if you recall, at the beginning of this, when he held the first retreat with his ministers, I think he actually gave them, what was it called? Not terms of reference, but a kind of...
he said that there's going to be periodic assessment.
So we have not seen that assessment in the last 2 years. Maybe we are beginning to see that assessment of, okay, or what are the scope of work you have been given? How have you been able to deliver on it? And that may be. But Nigerians will be just too happy to have some of these people in this cabinet go. Not necessarily because we hate them, but they may have been promoted beyond their competence. If you appoint people into office, maybe issue of rampeg in square hole and square hole in rampeg, and you have found that in the last 2 years of your administration that these people have failed to deliver effectively on the mandate that they were given. You have to show them the door and appoint more credible monitors. And then, at the beginning of the appointment of this cabinet, we were talking of other issue of who should be more. Is it politicians, or we should have more technocrats, people with private sector experience, people who are non-politicians, people who can deliver, that we can shop for best of the best across the globe to come and help, because we need a rescue. Nigeria needs rescuing. Somebody, my mentor was telling me on a program this morning that Nigeria is a collapsing state. And if you don't want the house to collapse, you have to do a major intervention. And that's what Nigerians are looking forward to, a kind of governance.
Okay. So let's take a breather, because I was going to ask you, could this be that the president is looking at, I have just about 2 years left, and Nigerians are watching, maybe I should take some actions. I'd like you to weigh in on that when we come back from this break. Plus, the governor of Zamfara State had imposed curfew on 13 local government areas. He has shut all schools because of the attack and the abduction in another school in Maradun local government area. We discuss how we can stop this spate of kidnapping by these ruthless kidnappers named bandits. Join us again after this break, everyone. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us tonight on the program. Mr. Gideon, geopolitical analyst, and Mr. Dominic Alancha is a member of the APC. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your time tonight, especially discussing what the president has done today and what is happening in Zamfara State. I'm also being joined tonight by Professor Anthony Killer. He's a development expert. He joins us virtually. Thank you so much, Prof, for joining us. It's good to see you. Okay, I understand that in a moment we will be able to see him, but let's come back here in the Abuja studio. I was going to ask if there was perhaps a thinking behind the decision of the president today to say, look, 2023 is around the corner. I need to tell Nigerians that we are going to do something or we are doing something. Could that be one of the reasons? Let me begin with you, Mr. Alancha.
Well,
could it be one of the reasons?
It could be, it could not. But for me, I think it's time for him to really sit up and rejig his cabinet, because this last 2 years has really exposed the inadequacies in some of these ministers. And the truth of the matter is he alone cannot do without these cabinet members complementing him. So it's a decision that he really has to take. And for us, there is hope because, like they said, it's a beginning of a process. I am expecting that there will be a major reshufflement. If it will help us as
so
a
you are
party.
Disappointed in these two? You thought that it would be like 20 or 15 or even 30?
To be honest, I'm expecting that at least it should be more than 10 if they are going to do an announcement, you know, like this. It should be.
And you remember, interestingly, you know, he's a member of the APC.
Yes.
Yeah, but they are also Nigerians.
We are also
Absolutely.
Nigerians. That is it.
But let me, if I can weigh in on this.
Yeah.
The president recently, through his said he doesn't want to end up as a failure.
Yeah.
This is the statement. He's telling us that he's hearing us, he's feeling our pulse, he's listening to us, and is ready to do some of the things that he's been asked to do. And don't forget, he receives counsel even from former presidents, from former security chiefs, and he has a wide range of people giving him good counsel on how you could do things better. Nigeria voted for him because we trusted him. And that trust should not be betrayed. The current situation is suboptimal. In my own estimation, this is personal opinion, I don't belong to any political party, it's suboptimal because we know what we can do.
What is obtainable?
What is obtainable
and what we're saying.
In terms of human capital development, Nigeria has it. We have the best. You can attract Nigerians in diaspora. Even if you ask Mrs. Abika Dabiri to set up a committee to harvest for you 10 Nigerians in diaspora that can help rejig this administration, she will do that. Within a month, we'll have the kind of cabinet that everybody will be, not necessarily politicians. Politicians will want to be politically correct. They don't want to rock the boat. They want to do things to satisfy the party interest. But we are talking of having people who have the competence, who have the requisite skill set to turn things around.
What about those who have the track record? Because a lot of people that are in politics, sometimes we don't see some people who can show us their track record of what they've done for themselves in their private lives. But let me bring in Professor Killer. I understand that he has since joined us. Thank you, Prof. If you can hear me. The question I asked my guests here in Abuja studio is that are they surprised about the president's decision to sack 2 ministers? Oh, goodness again. I understand now that Prof cannot hear us, but we try as much as possible to ensure that he can hear us, and as soon as he can, we will connect Professor Anthony Killer to join in the conversation. So the question I was raising earlier is, the issue I was raising earlier was about track record, because anybody who is going into the public space must be able to show that this is what I've done for myself, not just because you've named yourself as a politician, but if you have done it in your private life, That's a proof that you can do it in a public life, isn't it?
Well, that's the working on assumption. But I do know, after every election, there's what is called political debt. You are owing a lot of people. Even my brother Dominic, as he is a member of APC, the expectation, there is what is called pork barrel politics. Pork barrel politics is rub my back, I rub your back. If I gonna vote for you, I help you to win election. You know, these appointments are based on nominations. And who are the people making the nominations? They are you and I. There are people in power, in corridors of power. People like governors, you know, elder statesmen, you know, maybe former presidents. They are the one that nominates cabinet ministers. Oh, you know, this man gave us 5 million when we were doing the elections. We need to, you know, reward him. It's a reward system. That's why it's called pork barrel politics. It's rub my back, I rub your back, or as they said in local parlance, money for hand, back for grant. So if I help you to win election, the expectation is that I will have a reward from being appointed ministers to board chairmanship or board membership, to heading MDAs, ministries, departments, and agencies. That's the reward system we're talking about. And when you go through that route, you don't look at the competence level at all. It's based on who is nominating who. I'm sure that if you, with your clout now, I'm not denigrating that you are not competent, but do you know that you will likely, most unlikely, find your way into cabinet if somebody is not nominating you to say, here is my protege, or here is somebody I trust could do the job. Even when you have the skill set, somebody must nominate you. And this nomination sometimes has to do with faithfulness and loyalty to the party. You understand? More than what you have achieved in your private life or in your public life. And
well, I mean, I raised that because isn't that what we should be asking of politicians? I mean, if we see someone who, we should be convinced, because politicians are supposed to go into public service to serve. Mm-hmm. The people who are being served should be able to have a say in those who are going to serve them. So the question is that if we see people we know that their competence is not up to par with the responsibility they are going to be given. I remember when the nominations came, a lot of accolades were given to some of the names we saw on the cabinet, you know, and Nigerians know what they want. Nigerians know quality when they see one. And that's what I'm saying, that shouldn't we have a say as a people when we see that people are being nominated into office, isn't it?
Yeah, we should have a say. Now, you see, we in the APC, there are some of us that believes in progressive politics, all right? And we believe that merit should count. We believe that track record should count. We believe that competence should count. And that is why I'm having hope that at this point, it shouldn't just be about political patronage or reward for working or for something like that at the detriment of competence, at the detriment of merit and all of that, you know. So it should be about all of that. We should be able to aggregate all of that and then give this appointment, because the people that appoint you, the moment you become the leader, either the president, the governor, it's not about your party, it's about Nigeria. It's about delivering good governance to them. And you see, Shehu, the challenges facing us in Nigeria is not insurmountable. They are all surmountable. It's just getting the right people on board to drive the process, all right? And this present minister, a lot of them lacks the capacity. And that is why Mr. President is struggling. It looks as if he's not doing the best. You understand? Meanwhile, he's doing his best as an individual, and they need to compliment him. But the hope I'm having is that, and Mr. President, thankfully, is a listening president. He is listening to us. Those that are advising him, the kitchen cabinet, members, they are listening. They should advise him. These people, this vacancy now that has presented itself, the people that should replace them, and people that will go. At the end of the day, the people that should replace them, let competence, let capacity, let merit, let track record be part of those things that will bring them on board.
Let's bring in Professor Anthony Kila. If we cannot see you, we should be able to hear you. I hope one of that plays out tonight. Prof, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Good evening, everybody.
All right. There we go. I guess we can have Prof on the line. Professor, thank you so much for joining us tonight. What is your view? Were you surprised, or are you surprised hearing that President Buhari sacked 2 of his ministers?
Well, I guess I was surprised for a couple of reasons. One, because the Buhari we have known so far is not the man that's sacked easily. Secondly, because there was nothing in the grapevine that was talking of imminent sacks at all. So it's quite a surprise. Overall, one sort of got used to the fact that no matter what you say, it has no effect in the present era in which we're living. But that said, so therefore, to that extent, for that reason, it's quite a surprise. That said, however, it must be remembered the prerogative to hire and fire ministers is the prerogative of the president, so he can do it. What would have been sort of the norm is for any right-thinking, rational individual to be able to project and predict who will be sacked and who will be hired in an administration. You should be able to predict who will be hired because you have an idea of where the administration is going and who is close to the administration, and that would allow you to be able to predict who will be hired. You should be able to predict who will be fired because as a rational human being, you should be able to see who's doing well and who's doing badly and juxtapose it with the ability of the CEO, in this case the president, to discern and to measure what is good and what is bad. In this case, there's not a lot of information out there. We have seen the statement and the removal of which ministers and something of a bit of positions there. We can only deduce. There is no clear statement to say that we're firing Mr. A because he has not performed. We are left to, sort of infer and deduce what is said and what is not said.
So, do you see the president going to prune down or sack more or reshuffle in a major way his cabinet going forward? Because Mr. Additional said that this is a continued process and it's going to be done in line with the Constitution.
Oh, well, in plain English, what that means is that there is more to come. If you say it's a continuous process, of course it's a continuous process. It should have been that way. But because it has not been that way, that is why it is news. Ordinarily, I've seen other administrations changing ministers, changing directors, advisors is almost a routine thing. Of course, those who have been fired are not happy about it. But, overall, but from the indication of that statement that was read and shared, it seems that we should expect more. That is it. I repeat, it is the prerogative of the president to hire and fire, but really, in a system that is a team government, one will hope people who are accountable will have input in the situation. The chieftains of this party at the moment, they have all my sympathy because they speak according to their role. We have no proof that they have direct input or information about the administration. What they say is a lot of wishful thinking and hoping things are fine. It's not that they know, we have no proof that they're informed.
Let's assume maybe the president is watching tonight. And because you're a professor, you have access to a lot of information. So you're speaking from a lot of knowledge. So do you, in your own assessment, because the president has said that the federal government said there will be a periodic assessment of the cabinet's performance or each of the ministers' performance, and there is going to be a modality in which to weigh what they have done and what they have not done. But if you're speaking tonight, assuming the president is watching right now, how do you assess the cabinet? And for some people like Mr. Alanche here, he says he's even hoping that more than 10 or so will have to go. What's your own view?
But I think overall, it's always when you change key position holders, it's a signal of a turn. It means reset. When you start changing people. But quite frankly, if the president were listening to me tonight, I would say that he needs to be more hands-on. The president needs to remember that the buck stops at his table, and yet he can change people. But we, the people, need to have a clear idea of where he stands and, his own plan, vision, and project in very clear.
I don't know if we lost him there, but let's quickly switch from this issue of the cabinet to what happened today in Zamfara State, where the governor has imposed curfew in Zamfara. So we're seeing another abduction in Maradon local government area. There is a curfew in 13 local government areas and restriction of movement from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Mr. Ojo, what do you make of what has happened yet again in Zamfara State? Because the good news a few days ago was that some of the students that were abducted were being released. Now we're seeing yet another abduction.
And this abduction is even in the local government of the governor. It's like pointing or, slapping the governor to say, you can do nothing to us. I think we need to have a more creative solutions to this problem of banditry. And I've canvassed on other platforms that part of what we need to be looking at is border surveillance and patrol. We have too many small arms and light weapons floating around. There was a UN report that says that is it out of 50 million small arms and light weapons in West Africa sub-region, Nigeria accounts for about 35 million. Just imagine if you have that kind of huge number of small arms and light weapons in the hands of non-state actors. What do they use it for? So I think this problem have defined solution, but it is for security experts to come together. Because we saw what Katsina State Governor did yesterday, banning commercial vehicles.
He signed an executive order, and the governor of Sokoto State that follows suit today, he has also signed an executive order in that direction. Also, restricting movement on certain roads and routes.
But you can't keep people in silos. You can't keep them from. You can't keep them.
The same question I asked
community.
yesterday. I mean, when you said it does look like the problem has a defined solution, yes. But the question is that some of these governors don't even know what to do any longer. And so they are taking, would you regard any step that is being taken now as out of order?
It's frustrating.
Because they are looking for solution.
Yes.
And so in the bid to find solution, they said, maybe according to the advice they got, that these roads are, some of the roads are being plied by these people.
If that's the road, then you need to reinforce, patrols and make sure that the intelligence gathering, you can weed out these people. I was saying that in a sense, maybe this Super Tucano that was inducted yesterday, we'll start seeing the effect. Since they say it can do reconnaissance, it can do surveillance, it can do interdiction, it can do so many things, like the silver bullet we have been waiting for. Let them deploy this, but beyond and above that is that we need intelligence gathering. We need drones, all-weather drones to be deployed so that you are able to spot here, Mark.
Real time, you are able to monitor
exactly.
The control center and be able to see.
So you need technology.
Because experts told us here that, look, time is of the essence when there is an abduction or when there is a security breach. And if you allow those who are taking these innocent people out of a certain perimeter, the longer the timing, the more difficult is it to be able to track them. And we understand that these people, even on motorbikes, they go as far as 10, 12, 13, 15 kilometers. And you can imagine what that means. I mean, that means you're going into several other cities. But Mr. Alancha, isn't this a major, major, major problem for your party? Because not because of political issues, also because of the lives that have been lost. Fine, your party promised that you're going to fix security, but it looks like that's the Achilles heel for your party at the moment.
Honestly speaking, it's a major problem, and it's really worrisome. I was asking a question the other day. I said, in every local government in Nigeria, we have a police division there, a divisional police headquarters there. We have SSS, we have immigration, we have civil defense, and all of that. We have them stationed in every local government. And these people, these bandits, these kidnappers will drive into that local government, move over 100 pupils out of that local government. Which road do they really use that these guys don't track them? You see, Sheun, to be honest, the intelligence community has failed us. There is need to do more in terms of intelligence gathering. It's not about weapons or stuff like that. This time around, the solution to this problem is intelligence gathering, deployment of technology. Because the truth of the matter is, to me, the way I see it, there is a lot of, you see, somebody was also telling me that, well, I won't say that on air, but the truth of the matter is the intelligence community have really failed us, and there is need for them to sit up in terms of intelligence gathering, because the only way we can nip this on board is by intelligence. These guys sit somewhere to discuss and take decision on where to go and kidnap. They know where to go and move these pupils from. You understand? So what is really happening in Zamfara State and other part of the country, for me, is worrisome. It's really frustrating. The other day, I think, was it Masari that gave an order that citizens can defend themselves. The military also came out and said they discouraged that. The other day, the Minister of Defense said during their time that they can defend themselves. So there is confusion everywhere in terms of security. And that is why I said the security situation is making it look as if the government is not performing. But for me, my conclusion on this matter is that there is need for us to do more in terms of intelligence gathering.
All right.
Because,
do you agree with him, Mr. Ojo?
Well, I couldn't agree more with him, but beyond and above that, there must be political will to do the right thing. We have not seen people be sanctioned.
For me, the political will is there.
It's not there. It's not there. On my own part, I can't say the political will. And I'm not talking about the federal government level alone. These governors collect security votes, don't they? Running into billions of naira.
Absolutely.
So what do they do with that? If you cannot buy intelligence, if you cannot have a robust, coordination of security networks, we've seen the Southwest establishing a Montecon Corps. We've seen even Cross River State floating its own security network. Why can't the Northwest also do similar thing? They share borders. You understand what I'm saying? So if the political will is there, if you are taking 500 million, 1 billion naira security votes, what are you doing with that? That's why we have been calling for accountability of security votes. And that's why I said there is no political will to deal with this issue. Recall that some 3 years ago, I don't know how far that is true, but I read in the dailies where they say former EFCC chairman actually claimed that some governors will even orchestrate insecurity in their states in order to justify the collection of security votes. And it will seem like the more you have security challenges, the more security votes you collect. And this money does not get accounted for. So what do? Okay, you shut down the roads, you impose curfew. For how long will you keep people in starvation? People cannot go to their farms, they cannot apply their trade. Do government go and give them palliatives? We have now condemned everybody in those local government to IDP. Because that's what it means. If you cannot commute, you are not going out, there's 24 hours or 6 a.m. to 6 a.m. You cannot restrict people's movement for too long. People must move. And when you ban commercial vehicles, you ban all commercial cyclists and all of that, how do you want them to commute? Does everybody in those local government or affected local government, do they have vehicles of their own that they can use it to, in the case of emergencies? So I think we need to be more creative with the solutions. We need to involve technology, deploy technology. There are many security experts will tell you there are satellite images, there are satellites that can be deployed to monitor real time. So if we need to procure, let's procure. If you cannot procure, let's ask for the international community to help us. Let them donate to us.
Yes, you see,
we need to go now.
Yes, one of the things that Nigerians have always said also, which I agree with them, is that the buck ends on the table of Mr. President in terms of security. But you see, the governors, they are the chief security officer of their state, and that is why they allocate to themselves security vote. For example, in my state, Benue State, the governor takes over 800 million naira for security vote. Nigerians should hold their governors accountable also for this security vote. So I'm adding my voice to Jide Ojo's voice that yes, there is need for governors to begin to account for security vote.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. It's a pleasure hanging out with you for this hour. Thank you so much. Dominic Alancha, member of the APC, and Mr. Jide Ojo, a very good friend. Thank you so much, the political analyst. Thank you so much, gentlemen. But that's our show for today, everyone. Many thanks for watching. I'm sure Kimale, have a wonderful evening.